Welcome to the Jimmy Palumbo Show. That's right, show number 116 of the Jimmy Palumbo Show, bro. That's like we're like a aging veteran. We're like Bonanza of podcasts we've been on for so long. And this is show number 116. Of course, I'm coming from the Shitty Kitchen Studios in
Yeah.
downtown Mahwah, New Jersey. Also coming with me, my broadcast buddy for so many years, Christopher Gucci, coming from downtown Mattawan from the Chop Sports Studios. Christopher, how are we doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How much longer you got in the Shitty Kitchen Studio? Any luck on the
It looks like in about 10 days or 2 weeks, I will be in a not as I'm a little bit nicer situation. I'll be from the Shitty Dining Room Studios in
Oh, so
Mahwah.
you actually found a place.
Oh yeah. Put a bid in. It's we're waiting for the closing, so that's what we're doing there. I will be on the move, as they say here at Shea. So anyway, listen, this is show number 116, Chris, and I'm wearing my 706 hat because Beer League the series is dropping June 19th on all social media and all over the place. Please go to the YouTube channel Beer League the series and Jimmy Palumbo. Click and subscribe and show some love. I've been talking to Artie a little bit, so that's exciting as well. But today is a special thing because we have a special guest. I won't tell you who he is just yet. I'll leave the audience tingling there. But as we well know, I start the show, I grab a baseball card off the top of the deck, and this one is, I can't believe how long this guy played, and I can't believe how actually incredibly average he was, but he's got some wild things that I think are funny. This player is, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Doyle Alexander. That's right. This is his 1982 baseball card. Now,
Oh, that's my birth year. Look at
there
that.
you go. Now, listen, this guy, he pitched from 71 to 89. Okay. His record was 194 and 174 with an ERA of 3.76. He played for the Dodgers, Baltimore, Yankees, Texas, Atlanta, Giants, Yankees again, Toronto, Atlanta, and Detroit. And the unique thing about him was he had years where he pitched unbelievably awful. Where like Steinbrenner wanted to like kill him and he was awful, but he also had years where like his teams won the division because he went like 9-0 down the stretch. I mean, he was like in '84 Toronto, they won a division. He was 17-6, as a starting pitcher.
Well, I mean, like just 194 wins, 174 losses. That's a really, really solid pitcher.
Right.
No matter
Yeah,
which
so
way you slice it.
and it's mind-boggling. Like I laughed at his 3 years with the Yankees, though. He was 11-14 with an ERA of 4.47. He pitched in the 76 World Series for the Yankees, got shelled. I think it was game one, maybe. No, Gullett pitched game one, maybe. No, I'm not even sure what game it was, but he got shelled. He was out of the game in the second inning.
So he's Sonny Gray.
But he has some crazy. He was traded 7 times. 3 of the trades involved Hall of Famers. And one of them was Frank Robinson, but he was at the tail end of his career. The crazy thing was, in 1987, he was traded by the Braves for a little unknown pitcher named John Smoltz. Okay. And of course, horrible trade, right? However, Chris, this is something you and I will love. When he took over, he went 9-0 with an ERA of 1.53 after the trade, and they won the division. So, I know Smokes made the Hall of Fame, but like early on in that trade, you were like, if you were a fan of the Tigers back then, you were like, oh, best trade ever. We got rid of some minor league guy nobody knows about. And our boy Doyle Alexander is 9-0 with us. And won us the division. They won a division title, and then he would be good for like 2 years. And then he would, that's what I mean. He'd be good for 2 years, shit the bed. And then they would trade him. But he had 464 Major League Baseball starts. It's like, he had 1,528 Ks. That's a lot of Ks. I don't care who it is, The funny thing is, in the postseason, the Sonny Gray Award, he was 0-5 with an 8.38 ERA. So either he was more, I guess his fastball didn't have a little juice on it. But
Bro, I'm telling you just described like a full career span of Sonny Gray. He's been traded like 4 times. He came to the Yankees. He sucked. And no matter where else he goes, he's like a legit pitcher.
Right. And whenever he's pitching against the Yankees, it always seems like it's the 6th inning and we don't have a lot of runs. And you're like, wait a minute. And then you forget because he looks different. All of a sudden, you're like, wait a minute. Is this the Sonny Gray? I always think like it's his, like, I feel like he pitched for the Yankees. Sonny Gray pitched in like 74 Because like, is that his son? No, that's the guy who sucked for us. You know what I mean? I love that shit. Anyway,
Yeah.
here's another great stat on Doyle Alexander. Ready? No team ever won a playoff series in which he pitched. It's like, so if you make the playoffs and Doyle Alexander is in pitches, you don't survive in advance. Anyway.
Damn, 0-5, an 8 flat ERA and winless.
It's terrible. But yet he pitched complete games. He gave you innings. He very rarely came out. Like, again, that era, guys tend to pitch long anyway. But he was like one of those guys, he will give you innings. Kind of reminds me when I play softball now.
This guy that I got here is the guy that bridged the gap over like 3 eras.
Okay.
Right? He had a brother that also pitched. That should probably give it away.
Necro.
Yeah.
Phil or Joe?
Like, Joe. Now I'm choosing this because we always talk about the back of a baseball card. And I remember as a kid, he had one of the most fascinating backs of a baseball card, like him and Nolan Ryan, where they just like, it was like a stack. Like, what is that? Look at all those years.
Wow. That's Phil, right? Oh, no,
this is Joe.
Okay.
Joe. This is an 87. And this is his first year on the Twins. He probably pitched for like 5 more years after this.
Because there was years where Joe was better than Phil, I believe.
Bro, I'm just looking at this. Is like I said, I don't even know when he retired. I have his thing pulled up here, but I'm getting this off the back of the card. 107 complete games.
That's unbelievable.
107 complete games. You would be lucky to get 7 out of Garrett Cole in his career at this point.
Right. Plus, knuckleballers tend to not be hurt, but he was I believe Joe was a hybrid. He had a little bit. Phil Necro was pure knuckleball. Pure.
If you put 20 years in Major League Baseball and you have a 3.5 ERA with 107 complete games, where is he? Is he in the Hall of Fame? Like we're talking about rare air.
And I think they're both dead now too. I think they both passed away. They're pretty old.
I mean, they retired at 66. I feel like he was 66 years old when he retired, so he's probably on his way out.
I remember at Phil Necro's career, at the end of Phil Necro, he pitched a game. He looked like my grandfather.
Holy shit, it's his birthday today.
Oh, so there you go. You didn't even know that. Joe Necro's birthday. Same as Janine Michaud. She shares a birthday with Joe Necro, and D-Day, which is shout out. I'll do something later on that. But the thing about Phil Necro at the end of his career, he was so committed to the knuckleball that it would be like nobody threw a knuckleball like Phil Necro. There was no hybrid. It was completely like wiffle ball, and some guys couldn't hit it at all.
And Phil Necro, was he a knuckleballer too?
Pure, of the purest. Number 1 knuckleballer of all time.
That's so
Joe
crazy.
was a hybrid. I don't think he threw it all the time.
You don't think neither of these guys are in the Hall of Fame?
Maybe Phil Necro is. That's a good. I don't know that question. See that? I got to rely on my chat room here.
Pat Volkamer?
Where's Pat Volkamer when you need him? That's right.
Right? Where's Pat Volkamer? So this is the Joe Necro and who's your guy?
Who's my guy? Doyle Alexander. See that? How little. All right. Well, listen.
Hey,
Joe Necro and Doyle Alexander combined for 40 years of MLB. That's a good choice. I love
40 years and counting for Necro. I think he played longer.
Which, of course, brings us to Patreon. Now, listen, we're at 28, and we died at 28. We died here, but that's okay because Giancarlo Stanton's back in the lineup. Clearly the Yankees' best players, I've always said. And I love all my Patreons. I'm not bashing. I love it. Thank you for the support. Some of you give higher than the tiers, which is great. But I figured maybe a 29, a little Bill Courier, a little Myron Guyton, maybe a little Tito Wooten, Catfish Hunter, and my all-time favorite shitty Yankee, Jesse Barfield. That would also be fun. So I'm looking for a 29. And here we go. Our Patreon list. Alex Stetson, I just played softball with him. More on that later. My sister, Mike DeMosi. My mom, my cousin Joe. Rob Pastor, Kappa Sig back in the 80s. Jimmy Riccardi, nephew. John Henry Riccardi, nephew. Eric, nephew. It's the nephew series here at Shea. Michael Caprio, of course, of Cornhole Level Dat Cab. Frank Palumbo, my brother, who knows the guest that's coming on. Darryl Clark, my LSU boy, getting involved down there. Greg Casalino / Miller from Colonia. Mike Shecky Lawler. Oh, my God, I'm a Dolphin fan. Dave Ben, of course, 16 years. I went to school with him. Pat Volkamer, America's finest Facebook quiz trivia poster in the history of Facebook. And who listened to the show on the way back on a 3-hour car ride. He made his family listen to my show for like 3 hours, that's paying for them. We got Martin Walsack, Michael Deege, Alphonse, Beer League, the series coming out June 19th. We got Janine Michaud. Happy birthday, Janine, along with you and Joe Negro, which is funny as hell.
Actually, it's not Joe Negro's birthday. I wanted to comment on that again. It says birthday, and then to the right it says his birthday, and then underneath it says acquired on the trade, and it's 6-6. So he was acquired by.
So it's not his birthday. So listen, Joe Negro, whenever your birthday is, happy birthday in advance or late. Once again, my producer's always on top of things over there. Robin Achani, my
Negro,
cousin.
I'm sure. I don't even know if he's still with us. So
I don't think he is. Robin Achani, John Henry Palumbo, Greg Alpern of Beer League, the series. My nephew, Bobby Palumbo, nephew, Tommy Palumbo, Tyson Hogan, my favorite Patreon of all time, Louis Weege Vichadomini down in Florida. And, of course, number 28, Brian Shevlin coming in at the back end. That's my Patreon. So that is fine and dandy here, Jimmy Palumbo Show. Which brings us to the absolute best sponsor of all time, Absolute Eyewear, Chris. Let me tell you something about Absolute Eyewear. They're owned by Craig and Janine Michaud. It's her birthday today. Absolute Eyewear, 42 Main Street, Woodbridge, New Jersey, 732-326.
Eyes.
Oh, that was pretty good. Chris, got to get involved here. 326-3937. That's 732-326-3937. They got everything. Full opticians. They got prescription eyeglasses, everything over there. $100 off a complete pair. If you mention the show, she'll take care of you. All you got to do is say Jimmy Palumbo. You probably get a discount. They've been in the business like 18 years, family run, and they have all kinds of stuff there, especially they have, ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please, available at Absolute Eyewear, Ray-Ban, Coach Ralph Lauren, Dave Sturchio's Jimmy Choo, Silhouette, Michael Kors, Vogue, Maui Jim, Costa Del Mar, and Charles Oakley sometimes shops there. So go check them out. Open 5 days a week. They're closed on Wednesdays. Why?
Because it's softball.
We don't open shop up when you got to play softball. And they're closed on Sundays. Why?
That would be Giant football ass whooping day. They get their
the
asses
football
whooped.
Giants are on the air. I can't wait till the Packers suck. All right, so that's it. Absolute Eyewear. But the best thing about Absolute Eyewear, when you leave there with a pair of glasses, you don't feel like a jerk off. They take care of you there. You feel good about yourself. It's not like going to Dean Carpets on Route 1. I just said 3 guys just drove off the road with that reference. Now, which brings us, Christopher, I have a very unique and special guest on our show. Now, I don't think I've ever had a guest like this because I know him a little bit, met him a couple times. We have a deep connection with Rutgers, the Scarlet McKnights. And he played basketball in an era after 1976 when they went to the Final Four. And I'm going to bring him on the show. His name is Matt Madlinger. I got it right. Madlinger. Matt, how we doing?
Oh, Jimmy, I'm doing great. There you
go.
In fact, anybody who's a friend of Eddie Zucker is a friend of mine.
That's right. Eddie Zucker, of course, played hoops from 83 to 85.
He's been on the podcast.
Yeah, we had Eddie Zucker on the podcast.
Yeah, he's a little younger than me. I was 77 to 81.
That's it.
And then he was 83, I think. He
came later.
I played a summer at the Shore League with him.
Okay.
And he's a legend at the Shore, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's a legend in his own mind. He was my roommate. He thought he was a legend until I showed up, and he realized that. You know, he hurt his knee. He thought I was going to be like the rehab, the inspirational guy. I'm like, dude, come on. Let's get going here. You got one little scope. You got to play.
Yeah, if he didn't get hurt, though, he would have had a.
Oh, yeah. He was a good I think he was Atlantic 10 rookie freshman of the year, maybe something like that. He was tough. He passed the ball. He shot well. He was the whole package. If he didn't get hurt, he would have been a really nice, solid Atlantic 10 player. No doubt about it.
Sweet lefty.
Well, listen, you played in an era from 77 to 81, and you also played. I mean, you played with 3 NBA players. I mean, Kelvin Troy, James Bailey, Hollis Copeland. These guys, went on to NBA careers and got drafted, so on and so forth. But I got to ask you, so your freshman year was the year after the Final Four, and you were the first year in the rack, right? Or the second year?
Yeah, we were the first year at the rack.
So were you?
Phil Sellers used to say it was the rack that he built.
Right. Well, because Phil Sellers has a record that'll never be broken for Rutgers. You know that, right? He's got the most points,
Oh, yeah.
and he averaged 25 points a game for 4 years. And I assure you, if you're in the Big Ten and you score 25 points a game, you're not playing 4 years. You're going to be playing for the NBA, or you're going to be in. Nobody plays 4 years like that anymore.
I have the distinction of wearing number 12, and that was his number. So I got to wear it before they retired it. And I used to get abused. I used to get abused on College Ave when I went to the frat parties because they'd say, "You don't deserve to wear 12.
Absolutely.
You don't deserve to wear 12."
How could you wear number 12, Phil Sellers? He's like their greatest player of all time. I love it. The ball's on you. But I got to ask you something to get you a little ahead. So where did you play high school ball?
So I played at Piscataway High School.
Okay.
And was recruited a lot of Ivy Leagues, Penn and Princeton, some Lehigh, Lafayette, Rhode Island. Rutgers kind of came in late. But I'll tell you, it is all about the coaches and the relationship you have with the coaches. I mean, Tom Young was phenomenal. Joe Boylan, these guys. I was not a big fan, and this is going to maybe someone will ride off the road, but I'm not a big fan of Pete Carril. He just wasn't my cup of tea as a coach.
Right.
And
I hated the way they played that four corners. It was so boring. You ever remember that arena? You'd go there. It was so quiet.
Terrible.
I know I went to one game there, and I swear, Chris, I don't know if I forget the name of the arena they play in, but the way it is, it's I guess the fans, again, I'm going back, 35 years ago, 40 years ago, whatever. It was quiet, and they did that like four corner thing. And like, if you were down by 8, game was over because you were only getting 3 more shots. The rest of it was like, and he would pride himself on the back door or whatever that other shot. Rutgers never did well against it, but nobody did. Nobody does. It was that style of play. I guess it's cool. Some people like it, but the arena did not have that. I hated it. So I could totally see why you didn't want to go there. I mean, other than going to Princeton University.
Well, I mean, that part of it was appealing, but and Chris Young, I mean, but there was no shot clock. So the shot clock didn't come in until 1985.
Unbelievable.
Many people think Villanova wouldn't have won the national championship if they had the shot clock.
Right.
And Raleigh used to hold the ball, and Pete Carril held the ball, and everybody held the ball. We'd play Columbia in the Garden, and it would be like 7-2 at halftime.
That's crazy.
And it wasn't just us in Columbia; it was like Duke, North Carolina, would hold the ball.
And the rule was, the four corners was famous at North Carolina.
Ford, Phil Ford and Dean Smith. Dean Smith was the architect of the four corners, and he had a guard. He had a guard, Ford. We played them in the Garden, and if you got a behind by 5 points, they would just go spread it out, and he would dribble around like Curly, McNeil or Curly. Neil, and then
the Globetrotters. Right. I know it was, that's the way the era, now of course it's a whole different game, but some people do love that old style, but I don't know. That's, to me, is like too far. So you got recruited. Now you had some nice options there educationally. So how did your parents feel about you going 5 minutes away to the rack?
Yeah, I mean, one was free and one you had to pay,
Right.
so,
right,
and in the old days, even Princeton, not what it costs today, but it still was some, piece of change.
Well, what kind of player were you in high school?
So I was a scorer. I was a shooter. We played up tempo.
Right.
I like to show, to shoot the ball. So I averaged around 24 a game in high school, and we won the counties and got to the state finals. So that kind of helped my stock.
Right.
But there was no 3-point shot.
Right. And you were a long shooter. Oh,
so, that takes away that option. I played 2 years with James Bailey, who you referred to. He was the 6th pick in the draft. Wow. So think about that, Rutgers fans. We had a player that was sixth pick. And if you look at the picks in front of him, I mean, you're looking at Magic Johnson.
No, there was, listen, between 1976 and 1978, I think Rutgers had 6 draft picks in the early rounds. It's even hard to even think about right now.
Yeah.
Well, now, so obviously, when you first got there, Rutgers was again the reason why I wanted to have you on is because people don't realize that Rutgers was very good back then. This was before the Big East got really hot, and Rutgers declined the invitation, which ended up being a horrible decision. But when you showed up on campus, was it eye opening? Like, oh my God, these guys are really good, or was it like were you able to hang with them initially?
It was an eye opener. I mean, I certainly could hang with them, but it was a game that was up above the rim, and they didn't even allow dunking until my freshman year. I think was the first year the dunk rule came back.
Chris, think about it.
It was 10 years they didn't let you dunk. They called it the Lou Alcindor rule because they wouldn't, Lou Alcindor, they took the dunk away so that he didn't dominate. But
that's why when people talk about Jordan and LeBron James, it's like, well, one guy was so good that they changed that you can't do a certain shot. Like, think about how funny that is. I didn't realize that. That's a funny bit.
And then in retrospect, the guy developed a sky hook as a result of that,
which was unguardable. Still is. When he was 80 years old, he could still hit
better.
Yeah. So taking the dunk away from him probably made him the greatest scorer in the NBA.
Right. That's true too. That's great.
So there's unintended consequences of things like that. But so Bailey was called Jammin' James, if everybody remembers, and he dunked like crazy, and it was the first time that people saw a dunk in 10 years.
That's unbelievable.
So he had like 80, 81 dunks. Put that in context. I think Cliff had 73 last year, and we know how many dunks Cliff had. So Bailey had 10 dunks to what Cliff did.
Wow.
And so he became a phenom. His warm-ups, when we go up to Syracuse and play up at the Manley Fieldhouse, because they didn't even have the Carrier Dome, his warm-up was like a dunk contest.
Wow.
And the students would just, like ooh and ah because they hadn't seen that. Now we see it all the time now, but back then it was unique.
So you're over there, Rutgers. Now, where did you live on Livingston campus?
No, I lived on College Ave. I was with a few of the guys over on College Ave. I lived off campus. You remember Patty's?
Yep.
I was right across the street from Patty's.
Okay, I was on Livingston campus when I got there, and all the players lived on Livingston at that point. I don't know if that was a rule, but I'm on my floor.
No, I mean, like Hollis was with me. Heffley, Steve Heffley. There were a few guys over on College Ave.
And were you in a frat?
No, I was always invited into. I mean, they would ask me because I was an athlete. I think Deke and DU would always have some athletes on there. That, the football and so
I know Eddie couldn't really. Basketball took up too much time. The coaches really didn't want you joining a frat.
Exactly.
So it was like a wink. It was a wink. You're invited here, but you're not really a brother because. I don't even know now if they can be in at all. If I was a coach, I wouldn't let anybody be in a frat.
Yeah, I never, it never really got to that point where I pledged.
Right, but you were, so now your freshman year, you guys were 24-7. Was that NIT, NCAAs? What happened there?
Well, we won the Eastern 8. If you remember the Rutgers was an independent, and then they joined the Eastern 8, which was kind of a configuration. It was Pitt, West Virginia, Penn State, Duquesne, and it was
kind of like early Atlantic 10, really.
Exactly. It was the early Atlantic 10. And so we won that outright. And then we went to the tournament. Now, this was a league that only got one bid. So we won our league outright. We beat Villanova. They were second. We were first. They had 2 or 3 losses. We only had 1. So we won that league, but we had to win the tournament to go to the tournament, the NCAA.
Okay.
And it was out at the Pitt Civic Arena. And this Pitt Civic Arena, there's like the Penguins played there, but that was about it. And this thing was cold and big. And we played them, the 8th place team. So we were one. We had to play the 8th place team, which was West Virginia. And we played them at 2 p.m. on a Thursday. And they were still sweeping up the garbage from the Penguins game the night before, so you couldn't hear anything. You'd sit on the bench and your feet were freezing because you were sitting on ice.
That's great.
And we got beat in a crazy game, and that was it. Like, you just devastated. You think about that. We had like the number 1 seed. We were going to get and then we had to go to the NIT.
And back then, it was only how many teams in the NCAA tournament?
It was only 32.
32.
Only
right.
32.
Wow.
The year we made, so the next year we made the Sweet 16, but we won one game and we were in the Sweet 16.
Wow. That's right.
That's
why it's always
a little bit different.
That's why even the Final Four in '76, it wasn't as. If Rutgers made the Final Four now, it would be a much bigger story.
Yeah. It's just
who did you lose to in the Sweet 16 the following year?
So we lost to and it was a great tournament that year. That was when Indiana State and Magic Johnson made it to the finals.
Right.
That was 79. So that was a great final, and it really helped college basketball.
Yeah.
But the two best teams in our region, so we were a 6 seed. The two best teams in our region were Carolina and Duke. I think they were 1 and 2, and both got upset. So Penn out of the Ivy League beats North Carolina, and St. John's. And St. John's, who we've beaten twice, they take out Duke. So now it's and then Syracuse loses to Penn. So we're now like the highest rated team left in this region, and we're down in Greensboro, and we have to play St. John's, and we had beaten them twice already. We beat them by 11 at the Garden, and we beat them by 3 or 5 at Alumni Hall.
And here comes the RU screw.
So we lead the entire game. We're in Greensboro. Meanwhile, they had like 15,000 seats, but because it was St. John's and Rutgers, there was only like 7,200 people there.
Right.
Everybody down there on Tobacco Road just took a vacation. They weren't watching any basketball. Right. So we lose to Lou Carnesecca. Now, Lou always played man. He switched to a zone. This is something he never did. And so Lou Carnesecca went to zone in the second half late. And I love Tom Young dearly, but he had a habit of, taking the air out of the ball a little bit if you got a lead.
Right.
And we did not make our foul shots. The other thing that's changed in the game is you have a bonus now. Right. Back then, you never got to the bonus.
Right.
So every pressure free throw down the stretch is a 1-and-1.
Wow.
And we had some good free throw shooters, but not like Darryl Strickland missed a 1-and-1. He was a great free throw shooter, but he misses a 1-and-1. Tom Brown misses a 1-and-1. You remember these things.
Sure.
But we still had a chance to win. They missed the last shot, and it was one of these long rebounds, hit back iron way out, and their player Wayne McCoy caught it and scored at the buzzer and beat us. And that was the most devastating because we knew when we took the court, Penn was coming off the court, having beaten Syracuse. So we went to that game knowing we'd have to beat the Ivy League champ to get to the Final Four.
Wow. So Rutgers that year, you guys could have competed all the way with all those schools getting beat. Wow, that's brutal.
Yep.
That was Tom's run up against either Magic or Bird.
Well, yeah, of course.
At the end, we had beaten Bird the year before at the rack.
Really?
See, I was going to go that either.
Wait, so match up against these guys, and that was my next question.
Wait a minute. So Larry Bird got beat at the rack? I did not know that.
Oh, I'll send you a picture, Jimmy. I'll send you a picture. You'll have to put it on your broadcast. But we went to a 1-on-1 on him. Kelvin Troy, who was a dog of a defender. Kelvin Troy just hawked him. But you have to remember, Bird came in. He was averaging over 30 a game and over like 16 rebounds.
Coming to the rack and getting beat.
He came to the rack, and he had just been on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and it was one of the Sports Illustrated cover where the Sycamore cheerleaders had their fingers up, and it was like the best kept secret was Larry Bird.
Right.
And we held him to 23.
All right.
It was the Harry and Larry show. There was a guy named Harry Morgan, who was a senior, and Larry was a junior. And they called it the Harry and Larry show. And we held Larry to 23. The rack was standing room only. You talked about crowds. There were 7 deep on the concourse. Just standing. The fire marshals would have just shut this down today.
Wow. Right.
But we beat them in the NIT that year. And we were the last team to beat Indiana State. The following year, they went undefeated and went to the finals. So
they lose to Rutgers, and then so Larry Bird loses to Rutgers, and then the next loss was against Magic Johnson. Chris, come on.
You could in some ways make the case that like Rutgers had everything to do with Larry Bird's greatness. It sparked it. That was like his villain moment. Everybody has that dark moment
I think Larry Bird on the ride home was like, I can't believe I just lost to Rutgers. I will never lose again. That's great. I did not. First of all, I know I love tidbits like that. I did not know that. I don't think my brother knows that. I got to make him listen to the show. He probably is listening now. So yeah, of course, I'm friends with Brian Ellerby, who I know you've seen over the years. Yeah. He was on my floor. I was a little kid freshman, and on my floor was Brian Ellerby. Underneath us was John Battle, one of the greatest players ever played at Rutgers. And Ellerby was such a cool guy, and I used to make him laugh. And I used to make those guys laugh and that's why I started to go. I was more into basketball because I would just go over there and go. Back then, as a student, you just walk right in. It was like I don't remember buying a ticket. It was very rarely sold out by the time I got there. And any big game, Ellerby or Zucker would just say, "Here, take tickets." I'd grab a chick or something, and try to go watch the game. But so I've been following it ever since. Now so you played 4 years. That's awesome. Now you're over. Now you're established businessman. You're over at Alex Brown as a managing director. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And I know you've had a good career in that regard. So God bless Rutgers for giving you that fine education. Even though I'm sure your parents were like, "You're not going to go to Princeton." I think the reason why you threw out the money thing, I don't think that's what it was. I think you went to a party your senior year in high school, and you were like, "Hey, Mom and Dad, there's a lot of chicks at Rutgers hanging out. Nothing against Princeton, but I don't want to go to that cavernous." I can't think of the name of the arena at Princeton. Jadwin Gym.
Yeah.
And go to that awful place where they hold the ball for 2 hours. They get 6 shots off. And I'm going down to Kappa Sig and Zeta Psi and DU at Rutgers, and there's women around and they're having cocktails.
Jimmy, you might be on to something.
So, of course, now Matt is married to a friend of mine, Mark Chardy's sister. Am I getting that right?
That's correct.
That's correct. And Mark Chardy is friends with my brother-in-law, Steve. They went to Piscataway High School together. And, of course, Mark is a producer of films. And I've been in a couple of his films. He's been very good to me that way. Or I've been good to him, depending on how you look at it. And so that's cool. 4 years of Rutgers. You did well in your career. So let's talk about the current Scarlet McKnights. The last 3 years to me are a little interesting. We did well, but I have an overwhelming sense that it could have been a little better. We got beat. I don't know. I guess it's been there were moments in the NCAA tournament. I think we lost to Houston. We could have won that game. Last year, we didn't make the tournament because we were up by 7 against Minnesota with a minute to go. And the next thing you know, we lost. So not that it could have been better. I'm not so sure, but it's a possibility we could have went to the Sweet 16 because we had beaten tons of teams in the regular season.
Got a raw deal at the end last year, so
yeah, they could have.
The case that it was not their fault, but
but we did. You know what? You can't lose to Minnesota. You just can't. What do you think about currently what's going on with the Scarlet? I mean, Coach Peichel. I think he's doing a great job. What are your thoughts on the current state?
I love Steve. I think he's a gem. I think he's brought this program to a place that we never would have thought 7, 8 years ago. When it's funny, when you have no expectations, you're never disappointed. And for years, we were never disappointed because we had no expectations.
Zero.
And so now we've had some expectations, and now we're getting a little disappointed. And I think that's a good place to be.
Right.
And we are disappointed. I mean, clearly the gut punch that Minnesota game was last year,
and then to lose in the NI, which was a legal shot and all that. But then classic Rutgers, just like you talked about in your year, with a number 1 seed in the NIT. I don't think that's really ever happened, and we get bounced by Hofstra. That is brutal. That's why last season ended in such a death. But now, and Chris is not a huge college basketball guy. But and I know he's not following this, but what's going on with the recruiting with Rutgers basketball?
Awake. He's still awake, though.
He's still awake? He's listening intently. He's a good listener. The recruiting that Rutgers is doing between 2023 and 2024, as of right now, anyway, is absolutely mind-boggling. Like, you can make the argument like, Bronny James. Yeah, we're looking at Dylan Harper. We're looking at Griffiths. We're looking at Bailey. the people that Rutgers is in bed with this recruiting has never happened like this. We have a potential chance to have a top 5 recruiting class. That is in the country. I mean, like, if players are saying no to Duke and stuff, I don't know if we're going to get Dylan Harper. What are your thoughts? Do you think these guys are all going to come, or is it just smoke?
So, there's lots of. I think there's a shot. Clearly, I saw Coach Pikehill last summer at a party in Spring Lake. Just an alum over there. Mike McDonald had the team and the coaches.
Right. I think my brother was there. I think he was at that one too.
And he said that the Harper's family loves him. Right. The mom, he has a great relationship with Dylan Harper's mom, and Ron Harper obviously was a great. He had a great experience. Right. But when the Dukes in Kentucky start talking NIL money, so I saw Pike at this party, and then I'm walking on the boardwalk in Seagirt, and I run into Dan Hurley. Dan Hurley, the coach at UConn, has a house in Seagirt.
Right.
And so in 4th of July, I run into him, and I said, Danny, what do you think with Ron Harper or with Dylan Harper? I said, Duke and Kentucky are interested. He said, if they're interested, they're talking $1 million.
That's crazy.
Was similar to what I had heard before. So
can't turn that down.
I know Pike has a great relationship, and I know Steve said to the mom, he said, listen, we love to have your son, but we understand that's a lot of money. There's a lot of money.
We don't have that.
It does have to come down to, the player wants to come. He gets some money, but not that much money.
He'll get a nice chunk of change.
He'll get some change. Like Caleb McConnell apparently turned down a lot of money to stay last year.
Right.
They must have paid Cliff something to come back.
No doubt.
So there is some money around.
Right.
But it's the facilities, it's the coaches, it's the atmosphere. It's a lot of different. These kids. Jimmy, when we were in college, you give us $100, we feel rich, right? I mean,
right. Yeah.
I mean,
I know there was some money flying around a little bit, but it was coffee money. It was nothing.
Yeah, I mean, James Bailey got a car to come back his senior year. Right. And no one asked any questions.
Right. The thing about Rutgers that to me is mind-boggling with this NIL, the timing of it. People don't realize that, number one, Rutgers is in the tri-state area. We have the most alumni that live 45 minutes away from campus, and there's money here. There's money there's money in New York City. I mean, you're a managing director at Alex Brown. My brother's done well for himself. There's money. Rutgers alumni. The problem is there hasn't been a long enough buildup. The people that are doing really well, they were at here. Maybe they went to school even before you, and the NIL to them is like foreign. Whereas other cultures are like, hey, let's pay these kids. We've been paying them under the table for years. Let's pay them now. But the unique thing is maybe not right now, but if Rutgers can put together a 5 to 7 or 8 year run in football and basketball where they're competitive, where the basketball team, say, makes the tournament every 3rd year, the football team throw in an 8-4 once in a while, a 7-5, 6-6, no blowouts. If you can do that, there'll be a lot of NIL money here.
The reason why it's going to be tough, though, is because of the football aspect, and that schedule is just
brutal.
Insane.
But they're going to change that.
They're way behind in football.
They're going to change the conference alignment. They're going to just go with one thing. So the problem is, it's just, like I said, the NIL money. Rutgers could actually be 10 years from now, people could be like, oh, Rutgers, man, they're not that good, but shit, they're coming up with millions for these players. That could happen, but we have to have a higher level of success over a longer period of time. In my opinion, the first run of Shiano, we were only good for about a year and a half, if you ask me. And then we beat teams that we should have beat anyway. And now we're in the Big Ten, and Shiano's doing okay, but I don't know.
Well, I have season tickets to the basketball and to the football. The football is a little more of a loyalty test for me. But if you think about it, and no one wants to, my football friends don't want to hear this, but we got good in the Big East when all the teams we couldn't beat left.
Right.
We couldn't beat West Virginia. We couldn't beat Miami. We couldn't beat Virginia Tech. All those teams leave, and then all of a sudden we're beating South Florida and UCF. and Louisville's was
those
good,
teams are even good now.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, so it helped that the teams we couldn't beat left.
It's the blowouts that hurt the most. Like, you know what I tell people, going to a Rutgers game is like going to a tailgate at a wake. You sit in the parking lot, you have hot dogs and beer, everybody gets drunk, and then someone says, oh, the wake starts, and then you walk slowly on this death march, and you're listening to the band, and you go in, and it's death, and then you leave at the half because there's no, God forbid, and then you just walk back to your car.
Get some type of passing attack, they're going to struggle. To me, fan-wise, putting people in the seats, they got to throw the ball more.
My family, we used to go to the games. They thought when the band came out, the game was over.
It's true. It's the end of the game.
So my kids always thought at halftime the band comes out, the game is over because we never stayed. I think the amount of second halves I've seen at Rutgers in my time as a season ticket holder, you could count on two hands.
I agree. There's so many games, and even like last year, the Michigan game, the kid missed a field goal, so we're up by 3 at the half. I went up to go get a beer, and go to the bathroom, and when I came back, it was like 56-14. I was like, wait a minute, but there's only 4 minutes. Like, that's hard to do. Like, if Rutgers wasn't on the field,
Rutgers was trying to let them score. It would have still been hard.
It looked like Vinny Boombat said, all right, Rutgers at the half, down by 3, but listen, you got to let Michigan. In other words, if Rutgers wasn't on the field, I don't think Michigan could have scored as fast as they did. They scored on it was like, I'm like, but then I said to myself, Jimmy, I said before the game, I want to have fun till the half. And that's exactly what the gods of football gave me. And then by the start of the fourth quarter, I was driving up 287, ready to drive off the road. I was like, so I'm actually down on the football team. And for one major reason, I watch college football, and every team has this quarterback, a dynamic quarterback, a runner, a scrambler, a guy who looks like Tom Brady, or a guy who looks like Randall Cunningham. They're whipping the ball over the place. They're doing this triple wing, wide out, Boise State. And you come to Rutgers, and all you see is a big quarterback. He looks the package, and it's 37-0, and we haven't crossed midfield. I think they made a mistake not going to the portal. Everybody's high on this guy, Wimsatt. I have seen nothing. I watched him play live on a scrimmage. I've watched him on TV. I've watched him at the games. I know he's young. I just don't. I don't know. I don't know why. Maybe it's NIL money. They couldn't afford to pay a kid to come in. I think they should have got a kid to come in. They don't have a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, every time I get angry at the football program, I think that the best thing that happened to Rutgers athletics is being in the Big Ten.
Right.
And we would not have been in the Big Ten if it weren't for football. Now, the football, you could say, will never be a competitor in the Big Ten. But if we didn't have the football program at the point that it was, even as anemic as it was, we wouldn't have been invited into the Big Ten.
No, and it was a good financial move for Rutgers, even though we're down a little bit with the money and the investment you read about in the Star Ledger. We didn't get the full share yet. I tell people all the time, they don't want to listen. When Rutgers is on television, the ratings are through the roof because we're in the number one market. So you can have that big Iowa-Nebraska game, but guess what? People, and New York is not really a college town. It's just a pro town.
Yeah.
So when Rutgers does very well, whoever's in charge of the Big Ten network, that's why Rutgers will never be kicked out of the Big Ten.
Yes. And I think they're CBS putting the Northwestern Rutgers game on first game of the year next year.
Of course, it's on Labor Day weekend, where people go to the Jersey. You'll be at Seagirt. You ain't going to go to that game.
For sure. I'll be at the Parker House back there.
There you go. You'll be at the Parker House watching the game. So listen, I want to thank you very much for coming on the show. So you're still over at Alex Brown. Are you retired yet, or what's going on?
No. My son joined my team, so I have some help. In fact, he had a baby girl this morning, so it's my third grandchild.
And, your first grandchild?
My third.
So you have a third grandchild, and you're coming on the Jimmy Palumbo show.
Yeah.
Plus, you gave me a tidbit about Larry Bird. Chris, this might be my finest guest of the year right here.
Yeah,
that's
a very special guest.
That's unbelievable.
You guys are kind.
That's it. Well, listen, thanks for coming on. I think that era of Rutgers football where you play a basketball, well, the football team wasn't bad either.
No.
Was an interesting, it's a great tidbit. name the only Division I school that went undefeated in the regular season in football and basketball the same year. And the answer is Rutgers. We were 11-0 in football, and we ran the table in basketball as well. But we were only Division I in football for about 45 minutes before the season started. So I think we only beat one.
I think we beat Colgate at the Meadowlands to go undefeated.
Oh, those awful Meadowlands games at Cavernous Giant Stadium. Oh, my God. Anyway, listen, I appreciate you coming on. Share it on your social media or your son, whatever, and maybe I'll see you 4th of July weekend. I'll be down in Seagirt.
Would love to see you guys. Thanks.
You got it. Thank you so much.
Have a good one, bud.
All right, Christopher. Well, we got I can't believe Larry Bird got beat at the rack and then he didn't lose another game. That's unbelievable. How could I not? If my brother knows, he's going to lie to me and say he knew that. I don't think anybody knew that. I really don't. That's unbelievable. And, man, Rutgers had some good players back then. A lot of guys in the NBA. And I love the fact that Matt got all those schools. He ended up going to Rutgers. I have no doubt that some of those schools he mentioned aren't exactly, lighting it up in terms of social aspects. I'll leave it at that. I'll stay. It's 2023. I'll say it like that.
Yeah, he's a basketball player now. What was it? Cardale Jones. He was like, I didn't come here to play school. I came here to play football. He was an Ohio State quarterback. He was putting that on his social media.
Right. So I'm sure. I wonder if he partied as much as Matt did. Anyway, I'm not saying Matt was a party. He's still listening. He's probably laughing at me now. Anyway, that's it. Well, of course, that brings us to cornholelevel.com.
Yeah,
that's right.
In the comments, he's saying, glad to see Chris remember the episode this week. It had nothing to do with Chris.
You were at the post office when the show started.
Yeah, I was at the post office because you said you were like, hey, the episode's at 12:30, right?
Listen, no. The fans have spoken.
I didn't get a chance to say my side of the story. I get a text, or I texted you. It said 1. You said 12:30. I texted you. And then the next text I got from you, it says, oh, shit, no, I didn't. And I was already at the post office. It was 12:26. You were like,
but how about today? You didn't come on until 1:06 when I said 1 o'clock with a guest.
I know. And I said, look, I'm about to eat, right? I said, I got to eat real quick. It was 12:40, right? And then we talked for 7 more minutes.
Listen, Mike Caprio is the owner of cornholelevel.com. You interrupted his ad.
I actually have
to tell him off. So Caprio, if you're listening,
proposition for him.
A couple of things. If you're listening, the Mets suck, and you're right. Sorry to interrupt. Look at him laugh out loud. But of course, Chris, cornholelevel.com. That's right. Now, if you have maybe Matt down in Seagirt has a cornhole board, right? And he's got a beautiful house in Seagirt, a nice family and grandkids all over the place. But he's got a bad cornhole board. And everybody's like, oh, my God, Matt, you've been very successful. You played at Rutgers with NBA guys, but look at your cornhole boards. They're twisted. They're a mess. You just hook this little thing on right here for $19.95, and you get to and fro, and you have a perfect balanced cornhole leveler. If you go to cornholelevel.com, that's right, $19.95, 20% off. I can see Matt Madlinger is on the phone right now, desperately trying to get these things for the summer. It's 20% off the entire order. And pretty soon, these things are going to be colored with Rutgers colors, with the R underneath, and Penn State, and all these awful, like teams that I hate. But you should only order the Rutgers ones if you're a fan of my show. So go to cornholelevel.com. Tell them Jimmy Palumbo sent you. Give the code JP And I got to figure out if I think it's possible that Caprio has to renew soon enough. No, I think he just renewed. But he's a fine man for renewing. Cornholelevel.com. The perfect gift, the perfect gag gift. It's just one of those gifts you got to keep in your car. You go to a shitty barbecue and they got a bad cornhole board, and you could save the day, Chris. You would never play with a bad cornhole board, would you? You wouldn't do that.
Come on, bro.
The excitement coming out of Chris Gucci here.
Cornhole is it's what you do when there's nothing else to do. Like,
well, listen,
it's not like.
Listen, I'm a fan of this cornhole leveler. I've always thought that having a cornhole board mentally interrupted my drinking. I have to take the bag. I have to throw it. I'm trying to talk to a chick. Anybody who's single and flirting with chicks.
Cornhole is a single man's game, and it's not for just men.
I think it's a married man's game. If you're single at a barbecue, you're looking for chicks. You're not playing. You're not playing cornhole.
Hey, are you good at cornhole? want to try your luck against me, and then you just stay on the same side. So then you're.
Oh yeah, you have to make sure. You know what? I remember down the shore in Manasquan.
Playing chess over here.
You're playing with the girl, but she's on the opposite side, and your buddy ends up hooking up with her because she's right next door. See, finer points.
That's the thing. You don't team up. No.
I know, absolutely. Getting involved here. I'm getting texts now from.
You got to know the rules here, Jimmy. You send her on the other team. You say, no, I'm not.
I didn't know. See, I did not know the finer aspects of cornhole. But anyway, you got to go to cornholelevel.com here. Well, let's get right to it. The best player in Major League Baseball came back this week. Giancarlo Stanton hits a bomb right away. And then he pretty much won the game Sunday. I don't know why they benched him on Saturday. Pretty much won the game with a double off the wall. Almost went out. Should have went out if you ask me. So Giancarlo's back. Yankees beat a tough Dodger team 2 out of 3, which is nice. Yankees, but they're still – the Devil Rays just refused to die. Still 6.5 back, but Yankees are playing a little bit better ball. Love to see that. Plus the Orioles are playing good ball as well. So the American League East is by far the best division in baseball. But it's nice to see the Yankees smacking the ball around. Now, Gallo, I always mention Gallo, is now batting 188. And his lifetime batting average is now 199. Mind-boggling why this guy's still in the league. He's got 11 home runs with 26 hits. That's brutal. That's got to be the highest hit to home run ratio, right? In the league. It's got to be. 11 home runs is decent. 26 hits, 62 Ks.
In the league right now?
That ratio, you don't think so? At bats? I mean, hits to home runs? It's got to be close.
I mean, it's got to be, yeah. At this point, yeah.
He's been in the league 11 years, and his lifetime batting average is 199. That's brutal. I said it. He'll be cut by 4th of July. Let's see if or benched not to play again. Well, the NBA's been interesting. I've actually been watching a little of the games because this guy Jokic, I don't really get to see much, and he certainly is just an awesome player, 2-time MVP, blah, blah, blah. But it was nice, even though I'm not a Heat fan, it was nice to see the Heat. Listen, the other night's game was one of those games where a classic thing, when you get a team that's hot coming into a playoffs and it's 7 games, and the minute you think, sweep, 4-0, and all of a sudden, like, NBA players are just like, no, we're going to get one. That was their one. Big game on the road. It was a really nice win for the Heat. No question about it. I still think it's going to end. It's going to end quick for the Heat. But you know what? You got to admit, listen, I got to go down to Miami. I think they're pretty tough there. I think this might be a better series. I'm going to say it goes 6. What do you think, Chris? You still clicking?
I mean, my original prediction was 5.
All right.
It's going to be harder, obviously, to get it in 5 now because they didn't take care of their home court.
Right.
I could see. I think this is a very, very sneaky game for them.
Right.
If he could win this game, it's going to be it's going to be 7.
I always say this: whenever you drop a home game, right, and then you got to go on the road.
Yeah, the home court is now. The Heat have home court now. They got more home.
And now though, with like 6 minutes to go, if it's like 74, 73, it's human nature, man. You start going like, uh-oh. I mean, we're looking at down 2-1. I think Denver though is they're better, and they have a dominant player. I think they're going to see. But as we talked about, the Heat have one of the better coaches in the league that nobody talks about, and I think it should be interesting. So I think that's kind of cool right there. But that Jokic is just a stud. He got shut down a little bit in the second half. I'm also wondering if he was just. I don't know. Maybe it was. I don't know. Some of these guys get tired. But
no, I mean, like the adjustments that the Heat made, where they switched things up defensively. They put Jimmy Butler guarded Murray the entire game, and in the fourth quarter, he became too much for him. And they didn't get to the free throw line at all. But at the same time, the Nuggets were winning. The Nuggets did a lot of things right for the first 36 minutes of that game. They were up 8 going into the fourth. They just got beat in the fourth quarter.
Right. Who's the guy? What's the guy's name? I'm being stupid here. The guy's name on the Heat who started hit. He just hit like 3 big threes.
Oh, Duncan Robinson.
Yeah, I mean, if the game's close and the guy hits, 3 big threes.
The NBA comes down to like if you shoot 70% from the field in the fourth quarter, you're going to win if it's even remotely close. That's it.
But it was fun. I think it's good for I'm not a huge NBA fan, but I had fun with the Knicks a little bit this year. So. And plus, watching the Heat play the Knicks, I'm actually enjoying watching it. So listen, I think it's going to go 6. I think the Heat's going to steal one. I don't think they'll win. I just think Jokic is too good, and they don't have when he gets going. They don't have. He looks like 8 inches taller than everyone. It almost looks unfair, like it's like Andre the Giant, like, and he hits that little like not a hook shot. He hits that little like.
It's like a fade, but he's a 7-footer, so it's like he's got this weird. It's unguardable,
right? And also,
he's also the best passing big man,
right?
And
he can shoot. He can shoot deep if he has
big
to.
Man in the history of the NBA, and people will say, "No, come on, history." Yeah, he's got 2 MVPs. He averages. He had 7 triple doubles in the postseason this year. He averages 10 assists a game for his regular season. It's like,
and he brings the ball up, and when a little fast guard comes up to him, he don't steal it. No. So he's just a great basketball player that I think you play in Denver, nobody cares. I think the world, and plus he was good. First of all, he had a career before the NBA, so the world knows how good this guy is. I think it's kind of a cool story, and I'm rooting for him. But I want to see it. I'd love to see it go 7. That's always cool. But of course, now, Chris, if you have carpets that need to be cleaned, there's only one place to go here at Shea. That's right. You got to go to OxyMagicUSA.com. That's right. Now, listen, these guys, they're not your traditional cleaning place, okay? First of all, the whole thing is ran by my buddy Tom and his lovely wife, Natalie. They're very good pickleball players. Turns out when you're good in pickleball, it means you're very successful in life and you own the best carpet cleaning place in the area, okay? Now, listen. They don't drag hoses through. They use a whole little special thing. The dry time is 1 to 2 hours. They have the green seal. Their EPA is a safer choice. There's not chemicals all over your house. They do wall to wall. They do area rugs, upholstery. They do tile and grout. OxyMagicUSA.com. Remember, it's OXY. MagicUSA.com. OxyMagicUSA.com. Getting involved here. They also have, listen, if you want to be an investor, maybe open up your own cleaning place. They offer 0 company financing for new location owners. What you got to do is go to oxymagic.com for that information. Or if you got a filthy carpet and you say, you know what, it's time. Jimmy Palumbo said, I'll even maybe visit your house and say, hey, your carpets smell. Let's get the Oxy Magic on here. I will tell you that he came and did my carpets here, which they were able to sell this condo I'm in. So that worked there. And also, this condo that I'm about to buy, one of the rooms has a little stain in one of the rooms. So, Tom, if you're listening, I'm going to have your guy come here and try to get the stain out of the carpet. Otherwise, I have to replace the carpet here at Shea. But it's the best carpet cleaning in the area. OxyMagicUSA.com. It so happens that Tom and his wife are very good in pickleball. They think they're better than me. They're not really. I just, haven't really played them enough to, I need a partner. So I'm going to find a really good woman partner. Then we're going to take them on and give them a beating. But they're awesome. I think he played college tennis, and she's good too. That's the reason why they win, because she's good. That's the reason. But OxyMagicUSA.com, OXY, MagicUSA.com. Go talk to Tom and check it out. It's cool. They're good people, and you love to have sponsors that are good people. I always love that. So, all right, yesterday went to the home inspection of my condo. Things are looking pretty good. I went down there with my brother, and he was looking at it with me. And my buddy Dave, of course, has always helped me out. And it's going to be in downtown Mahwah. We're going to have improved studios, Chris. I'm going to be in the dining room studios here at Shea. I'm excited about it. It'll be a little bit nicer for my daughter, and it's right around the corner. Don't worry, I don't have to. You're not going to help me move, Chris. I know you would.
So are you being forced into an upgrade? You're being forced into an upgrade. That's what I'm getting.
The place, the place I'm in, I decided that it wasn't a good mix to stay, really. So I decided to, you know what it is? Listen, I'll tell you. I'm in a complex that's very nice, except for the 2 buildings that I'm in were part of the 40 years ago, lower income housing. So it's just the clientele here is not as nice. I don't have certain things that I wanted. So I'm not bashing any low income people at all.
No,
I'm just saying.
Simple answer is yes.
It's nicer.
Upgrade. I like my new place better. That's what we do in this life, right? We advance into bigger and better things.
We advance, right?
We advance. Jimmy, even though albeit being forcefully advanced in some ways, in your case, but were you? I don't know. I wasn't here last week, so I missed the details because when I brought up, oh, you found a place, you seemed like, yeah, you don't know.
Well, I think I mentioned it last week that it looks weird.
Yeah,
but listen, until it's a done deal,
exactly. You got to be careful.
But it's close. It's going to happen.
I mean, Jeff Fiegels don't miss. Jeff Fiegels don't miss, right?
Of course, Jeff Fiegels is my realtor, the punter from the Giants, and he's in Italy with his family. It's a classic Giant, shitty Giant move.
Realtor move, to be honest.
Yeah. Jimmy, we love you. We love you. By the way, I'm taking my whole family to Italy for 12 days during the most critical part of your transaction.
It sounds like a Jimmy thing, honestly. I feel like that's just Jimmy, Giants. You could blame what you want here, but the juju is all lining up as to where you're going to struggle.
All I know is I hate Larry Bird, and Rutgers beat him at the rack. So that is, matter of fact, I have to get. He sent me photos. I'm going to be blessed. I can't wait to call my brother to find out if he's listening. Frank, come on in and say something. Anyway, so that's what's going on. We might have a closing date in about 10 days, so I'll be moving and doing all that stuff. Actually, I think 4th of July falls on a Tuesday, so we might have to move we might do it Wednesday. Maybe we'll do it Wednesday the 5th. Maybe that'll work. But that's in a while. Yeah, we still got time. Please, people, June 19th, Beer League, the series. Google it, look it up, go to the YouTube. I need you to subscribe. And here's why. We got to get over 1,000 subscribers to get this thing rolling. I've been texting with Artie. Artie's going to be promoting it soon enough. And we got to once we get over 1,000 subscribers, then we got to fight the battle of clicks and views. I think you guys are going to enjoy this. It's 5 days in a row. Each one's going to drop every day. They're about 3 minutes long. They're not 30-minute episodes. I never said that. And then from there, if the public says these are kind of fun, let's do more. And if we do more, that's where possibly some of the other cast members who didn't partake will partake. We think we got a lot of material to talk about in terms of old people still trying to play sports. But I will tell you, I started playing pickleball again. The heel's coming around.
Marathon. That's an episode right there, bro.
Well, there you go, bro. Plus, maybe we'll interview Larry Bird.
I got to be in that one. Who's going to play me in that one?
Maybe, you know what? My goal is to have a beer league series where at the credits, it just says Chris Gucci playing himself. That's all I want.
I got to pick the actor. I want to pick the actor.
But of course, well, wait a minute now. Hang on a second. I can't have you in beer league series without Dave.
Tom Holland to play me.
If you were in beer league the series without Dave, Chop Sports would shut down within 4 hours.
Well, we'll just get Tom Holland to play me. Probably closely resembles me the most.
Maybe I'll have you play Dirt.
What?
Dirt. You remember Dirt, the pitcher in beer league?
Yes. Now I was like, what are you talking about, bro? I took a shower like 4 hours ago.
But I promise, if we had a run, Dave almost came down. If we go on another production, it'll be on a different situation, and I'm gonna make sure all my buddies get in for sure. We didn't do that during the first beer league, which we should have.
Johnny Trino start a podcast on it, bro. There's so many good things here.
There's so many bits. Well, first of all, I played softball yesterday, first time in a while. I was 2 for 3. I played right field, played a decent right field. One guy hit a slice. We only played 3 outfielders, which why we did that, I'll never know. And so I had to play like right center, and a guy hit a golf shot down the line. And I was like, okay, I went into mode of hold him to 3, and I took it in, fired it in. You only got a triple, which worked out. But I threw caught a couple of nice balls. Felt good at the plate, but you know what I couldn't do? I could not do this, Chris. This has nothing to do with running the 5K, which I'm going to get to in a second.
I was going to say, you couldn't make it to first base.
No, dude. First of all, you know what I didn't do? I usually I run the bases a little bit as part of my warm-up, but I didn't. Dude, I hit a ground ball. I swear it took me an hour to get out of the box. That's number one, right? And as I'm running down the first, I could hear like two, get 2, turn 2. Not only was I out, I think I was out by 5 steps. In other words, it's like it was like not even. I was like, well, and I realized, oh my god! And then so when I ran out, the next time I got up and I got a base hit, I made sure I ran hard down to first, even though I knew I was going to be safe, because I wanted to get a feel. And I was like, you know what? I can't play softball without running the bases a little bit.
The positive side of things, like there was a time in history where being a slob was a sign of wealth. So maybe in another time you were very wealthy. We'll call you Wealthy Jimmy.
So like so you thought I was like a big Roman god?
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. Maybe
you just called me Jabba the Hutt.
He's not even
Call
running.
me Jabba the Hutt. Well, listen.
No,
all I know
Cecil
is
Fielder, bro. You're Cecil Fielder. You're no longer hitting for average.
You guys are you're
no
tough
longer
on me.
for average.
Listen, you're going to see some of the posts coming up that I made at the thing for Beer League. Ooh, I got the gut going. I've been losing weight. I know I've lost weight in the last week, but I got to lose substantial weight. There's no question about it. And I will do it because I am doing my 5K has been switched to September 16th. It's the Ramsey 5K. It's the original one.
You got to switch that 7 to a 3 for this season, bro. You're going to be back in 306.
Listen, look at Dave chiming in. Sweat dying spice. It's so bad. I
306, bro. New hat. We're going to get a new hat in the store. It's going to say 306 on it.
You know what? The fans, listen, I could still get it
done. Down too? We'll put down F7 is your new number. F7.
No, or 6. How about 643? You know what's weird? I was telling a guy, I've been playing softball for 35 years, okay? And
that was good. That was good. You rarely elicit a laugh out loud from me.
I know. Well, yeah, I know. Getting you to laugh means
you piggybacked off of my good joke first, so I delivered, and then you enforced it. So that's good.
Listen,
congrats, bro.
My whole career, backwards K. Dave's being such a jerk off. I love it.
No, that's me. I'm backwards K.
The problem is, in my whole career playing softball, about 39 years. Okay. Don't ask me why. I wasn't always a speedster, for sure. I rarely struck out. I think I've struck out 2 times, right? Don't ask me why. I always made contact, whatever. And I think I've grounded into 3 double plays in all the hundreds of games. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I go opposite field, so the second baseman gets it. It's got to go over a little bit. And Sam Grasso getting involved. But this double play was like, the announcer would have been like, "Oh, that'll be 2." I was like, so I literally told the coach, I'm like, I will not ground into I want at least a bang play. But remember, I tore my hammy, which would be brutal. I can't tear my hammy this time. So I'm back doing that. So I will, September 16th, Hector Macho Camacho, Johnny Trino Palumbo is doing the 5K in Ramsey. And I will finish under 31 minutes. Bring on the Sugar Man. I know I got my training partner now. Guy's going to run it with me. And he does it like 27 minutes.
Wait, just a second here. When you say training partner.
No, he's going to run it with me.
You're the person that's going to run with you because you're not training, bro. It's not David Goggins. You're not like,
see this?
You're not waking up at 5 a.m. and hitting
that's okay. You know what? You know what I'm doing to you, Chris? Chris, I'm doing a rope-a-dope. I'm going against the rope, let the dope hit me, and then I'm going to knock you out and finish under 30. But this guy finishes it in 27. I played pickleball. His name is Rod. And I said,
what is his thoughts on this?
He finishes 27 minutes, and he's incredibly in shape. So I said, listen, I need you to like run a little ahead of me and then maybe turn around and come back and get me sometimes. I'd be like, Jimmy, come on, bro. And he's good with the watch and how much time.
No, that doesn't answer my question. You are like a politician up here right now. What did he say when you said I have to run under 31 minutes? Did he say to you, did he speak?
He did. There was a pause for sure. I'm not going to lie to you there. There was a pause. But he wasn't like negative as every family member is.
Probably a nice man.
And God forbid, you could see the clock as you're coming in. To the final. And if I know I'm going to finish under 31, I'm going to do a little Ollie shuffle. You know that. I'm going to dress up like Macho Camacho. That's what's going to be.
Well, it's a good thing, man. It's going to be a sad sight to see the 51-minute mark. See a raggedy old
51 minutes. There's no way.
The finish line.
51 minutes. I can walk it in 51 minutes. I'm telling you.
Exactly. Anyway.
Which brings us to Chasing Miracles. I'll be wearing these patches, these breakthrough technology phototherapy patches here at Shea. They're using light to stimulate the body's natural healing systems. You got to put these things on your back, your shoulder, your gut. You can put them anywhere you want. You got to go to chasingmiracles.com. Talk to Donna and Tommy. They activate your stem cells. A lot of the athletes are using these now. They're relatively inexpensive. As they say, they'll turn the lights back on so your body acts like it did when it was 20. Fans are on their feet here at Shea as Jimmy Palumbo crossing the finish line with Chasing Miracles phototherapy patches and also his The other thing that put the sandbags in the water, as I call it, you got to go to Chasing Miracles. This stuff is real. It works. They've done years of clinical research. You see athletes wearing these patches. It's the same thing. Go check it out. What else they do here? They say by the time you turn 60, your body starts to break down. I'm only 58. And they work on the peach. That's so funny. Look at Sam Grasso wants to put it on us down below. That's a good question. Getting involved here, Jimmy Palumbo, late at night with a couple of scotches in them is putting the phototherapy.
Little taint pad.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Well, for you, you know what, Sam? For me and you, maybe we should just put it on our hand so that like gives that extra energy they talked about. How did this commercial for ChasingMiracles.com, go from the calcium packs and the phototherapy patches to this disgusting conversation by Sam Grasso? But no, check these things out. They're really cool. I'm wearing them right now as we speak. ChasingMiracles.com.
Where?
Talk to Donna.
On your peach?
Not on my peach. They're on my back and on my shoulder for my picklicious game. And go check it out.
Jimmy, you're just
for pickleball. For pickleball, my friend. God, you guys, you're just in the gutter here at Shea. It's all funny. I played pickleball with my friend Bennett, and her daughter's name is Shay. So I'm on the court with her. She's like, okay, she's 22 years old. Her name is, she's beautiful. She's 22, but her name is Shay. So, of course, I said to her, I do a podcast, and all I do is say, good evening, everybody. Fine day here at Shay. And she looked at me like, so I said, you know what? I got to come up with a better nickname. So I just started calling her City Field all day. I said, you know what? If your name is Shay, that's not a bad, call her City Field. You know what I mean? Or Dirt Infield, I was going to call her too. But then, of course, she was better than me in pickleball. So youth movement there. I started watching Mrs. Maisel again last series. Chris, you ever watch that show? Probably not, huh? I felt like the show,
I didn't watch something good though.
I feel like the show is I didn't know what was going on with that show. I feel like it's ran its course, but I can't. She's beautiful, the girl, the Miss Maisel girl.
You watch Inside Man?
I did not watch that yet, no.
With Stanley Tucci and the
I did not watch that, no.
The premise, the thing I like about it is it's only 4 episodes for now. I'm sure they're going to come back with another season, but a little quirky in terms of the premise. He's on death row and he's solving mysteries and shit. So it's one of those stupid shows like Blacklist that
I would dig that. I would dig that, I think. I have to check that.
It's only 4 episodes, and it gets, without giving away too much, there's a guy hands a priest a file. The file is something that a priest shouldn't have. Right. Someone sees it. They think it's the priest's son's, and he goes out of this world to try and protect his son. And very, very similar to a Your Honor type show.
Okay. And that's on Netflix?
It's on Netflix, 4 episodes, and
I love that.
It's a good. You'll watch it all in one sitting, probably.
So Chris has a suggestion of a show, which to me
quirky, and the downfall is the jail scenes because it's just stupid. But that's the premise of the show. But the actual bulk is not even Stanley Tucci. It's like it's a different set, different cast, different everything. I'm
all in. I'm going to watch Inside Man. And you know who died the other day? This is for the older people out there. I remember as a kid, there was a show called Petrocelli, a detective show. The guy's named Barry Newman. The guy, can you imagine naming a show like Petrocelli? It sounds like Rico Petrocelli. It was one of those detective shows, and for 2 years. I just read that. I'm like, the guy was like 94 years old. I assumed he was dead years ago. But I always liked his character. He's been in a million things. I looked at him, I was like, you know what? He was bigger than I was. I wasn't a lead of a show for 2 years, but like I went on IMDb and I'm like, he was like a journeyman actor, booked so many different shows, and he lived to be 92. So maybe with Chasing Miracles and me getting healthy for this 5K here at Shea, I will be, live to be that age. But if I'm not, you got to go to the Pine Tar Bar and Grill, 121 South Main Street, Fork and River, 609-489-4286, the best sports bar in New Jersey. Go talk to my boy Tommy, pinetarbargrill.com. Check it out. They got every TV in the world there, like 90 TVs, all kinds of stuff. Also, if you're feeling a little down and out about yourself, Lisa Ruane, 201-725-1251. She's a therapist. Talk to her. She'll give you advice. You sign up to work with her.
I thought you were like Pine Tar Bar and Grill, and if you're feeling a little better about yourself, just go sit down at the bar.
Go sit down at the bar. You know what, Lisa? Maybe Lisa will meet you at the bar. That would be kind of cool. While you're getting it, I set it up. With your reading glasses on from Absolute Eyewear, you go to Pine Tar Bar and Grill with the patches on your back and sit and talk to Lisa Ruane about your life at the bar while you're getting your carpets cleaned at home. That's a perfect scenario. That way all the sponsors get in across the board like that. And while you're there, subscribe to Beer League, the series. That's the first. And then also sign up for Patreon. That's how it is, Christopher. Well, that's it. Also, show went long today.
Also, when you get home, straighten your cornhole.
See that? It's gutter day here. I did leave out cornhole, but you didn't say it you said it in a different way. But listen, Caprio is probably not listening anymore because you interrupted his thing before. All right, kids, that's it. Thanks for my fine listeners tuning in. I love you. Sturcio hopping in with his kids, adorable photos on Instagram, and also the Jet fan stuff, which still makes me laugh. I just know Miles is going to be a Jet fan. There's always a little green in the photo. I'll find that green in there. I'll find that Jet green. Aaron Rodgers of the 12-5 Jets this year, and the Packers 5-12. All right, kids. I will talk to you later on. Jimmy and Palumbo Show signing off. We'll see you next week.
Peace.